Hello, I'm Halcyon, and this is the Belief Buffet, part of Hug Nation. Today I want to talk about time. I am approaching my 50th birthday, and as such, I have been thinking about the passing of time and aging, and whoo boy, perspectives change as you grow. Time moves faster, and you have a different vantage point. One of the big things that I've become aware of lately is that my vantage point of time is so different. When I was younger, there was the world before me, history, things that happened during my parents' lifetimes and the lifetimes before that. And then there was the lifetime I was living in. But over the last 5 decades, the chapter that I'm living in has changed dramatically. The world that I considered to be my time of my youth is a time before cell phones, a time before video games, a time before cable television, a time when the only way to learn about the world outside of your immediate experiences was what you learned in school, what you go to the library for, and what you see on, the occasional, the hour or two of television you watch at night on the A-Team or Dallas or Dukes of Hazzard. And now there's this world where that it's still part of my time. It's just another chapter of my time where we have infinite awareness of everything that's happening in the world at all times. So now I have this perspective of what the world is, what my world is, and it is not the same as it once was. So now I go, oh my gosh, this whole concept of vantage point and what history was and what future is has changed because now I have experienced history happening. And as I've seen what has changed and what hasn't changed. And there's something incredible and beautiful and unsettling and terrifying about those things. Because what has changed? Technology changing constantly. Dramatically changing the way we interact with the world and one another. Dramatically changing the way we see ourselves. I mean, when I first was online and I started taking pictures of myself, it was such a dramatic action. I was called narcissist so often that I called my site cockybastard.com just to yes, I get it. This is crazy behavior. Now, baseline behavior of every youth is constant selfies and documenting your life and taking pictures and being hyper aware of your personal brand and the way you see in the world. That's just, that's happened in this last couple chapters of my life. Now, what has not changed? Underneath everything, there's darkness. There is corruption. There is greed. There is destruction of the planet. Also, unchanging through time is these timeless values. Love and kindness, compassion. And so the challenge as I am aging and my perspective is changing is to not lose hope. As the world is changing and you know that some things don't change, make sure to focus as much as possible on the unchanging things that are beautiful. Creativity, art, family, friendship, righteousness, the goodness of doing the right thing. These things are unchanging throughout history. Love. If we can focus on those things, then the hectic, wild ride of technology and culture changing isn't so unsettling. And it isn't so depressing when you start to realize, even as all this is changing, there's still these core darknesses that rides through the hearts of many people. there is this virus within human beings of greed and progress and bigger and more. And good people get caught up in it and end up doing things that are a part of a collective destruction. I do it. I use technology. I wear clothing. I eat things that have effects on the planet and individuals that are out of sight, out of mind, and negative. So this awareness of time being this living thing and having a relationship to things as they change is this really beautiful shift in awareness. It's kind of like if you saw the movie My Octopus Teacher. He talks about the difference between, like, if you go snorkeling and you spend a day in Hawaii and you look at this beautiful nature, it's like, wow, this is so awesome. But that's so different than going day after day after day and watching things change and understanding the relationships between things. And it's kind of like the difference between history and living things. In history, you look at these, dates or events or, facts about history, and you try to, it's like looking snorkeling. Oh, look what happened in the world. Whereas if you live through the history, you intimately understand the relationship between so many factors. And I've started to have that sense of my octopus teacher connection to culture and seeing how things change and how things don't change and the relationships between things within the pieces and the structures of our culture and in people. And seeing how there's something so cool about watching things over time. There's a book, The Overstory, that talks about trees and how in the eyes of trees, humanity is irrelevant. Trees function on such a slower timeline that the rise and fall of empires is meaningless. And I remember the first time I got into gardening right out of college, I planted a grape vine. And I was so excited because I wanted this dream of making a trellis with grapes and hanging down grapes. And I planted the tree, and then I went back to the library and I checked out a book because that's how you learned about things back then, books from the library. And the book told me that it would take about 5 years to train this vine until it could make grapes. And I was 23 years old. I was like, 5 fucking years? What a waste of time. I mean, that's forever. And I forgot about it. And then I went back to my parents' house like 10 years later, and this vine had grown into the canyon, like ground cover. And there was covering probably 30 feet into the canyon, and there were these clumps of grapes all over the place. This timeline was moving slowly, but it was moving. This narrative, not moving fast enough for my little brain to care about it, but absolutely a story unfolding. And I think that there's this perspective that I have now of stories unfolding on longer timelines. For example, people. There are people that I crossed paths with 20 years ago, 15 years ago, and I see them now and have witnessed the things they've gone through, witnessed their maturing, witnessed them going from well-meaning but a little headstrong and a little, green, to fighting their battles, learning hard lessons, becoming weathered and walking the walk and coming on the other side to being these like powerful people with wisdom. And it's so cool to see a grape plant become this vine, to see a young man become a powerful person in the community, to see how things can grow over time. And honestly, it's a new thing for me to think in those terms. I'm very present focused. And I have a hard time taking on projects that are multi-year. Like my timeline usually, as far as the future I can even see, is the next Burning Man. So like people say, oh, well, let's purchase this thing for the burn rather than rent it, because then we'll have it for 4 years. I'm like, wait, what? 4 years from now? What? I can't think about it. I can't think those terms. But now, I can look back at my life and go, wow, I've been around for a while. I can see what happens over time. So maybe I can shift my perspective a little bit moving forward, and maybe make some plans. Maybe make a plan for something that could happen in 2 years. Now, what's funny is I remember maybe like 4 years ago thinking, I'm going to make plans some like crazy party orgy for my 50th birthday. That did not happen. I did not put those plans into motion. I'm not having a massive party for a lot of reasons. One, it's not the right time in this world to have a massive party. Two, I don't think that's what I want anymore. Three, I don't think I would do very much luck putting together an invite list for an orgy. That's one of the things, becoming a 50-year-old man saying, hey, who wants to have an orgy with me, is different than, a 28-year-old man saying, hey, who wants to come and get naked with me? I'm not complaining. I recognize that I am still attractive in my aging self, but I also recognize that there's creepiness behind a man who could be someone's grandfather being in a potential intimate or sexual situation. So I'm enjoying this perspective. I am enjoying the ability to have lived through history, to have the perspective of how things change and how they don't, to recognize where you need to place your passion and your faith so that you don't get crushed, so that you can wake up every day and go, yes, another day to spread love and light, instead of wake up and go, there's no way we can fight this much darkness. So as I approach my 50th birthday and embark upon my second half century, I am so grateful for the opportunities I've had, for the adventures, so grateful for the lessons, the teachers, the camaraderie, the lovers, so grateful for the right place at the right time to be where early Burning Man was happening and early internet was happening. So grateful to have the guidance of my grandfather and my parents. So grateful to have feedback and connection with people like you, reminding me that there are so many people out there that would rather hug you than hurt you. And that connecting with those people, helping them to have the strength and the courage to shine their light, to feel the encouragement so that I can shine mine, to keep those ripples flowing into the world, and just having faith that that's why we're here. Find our gifts, share our gifts, support others as they wake up to their light and share their light. Thank you for being a part of my journey. I love you. For my birthday, I'm just glad that we have this moment together. I would love it if you want to give me a gift. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Tell someone else about me in whatever venue or medium that you would recommend it to them. And get on my mailing list so that I can share with you details about my book when it comes out at list.hugnation.com.